Why was Herbert Hoover the best president?
Why?
Because he gave a damn.
Yeah, he did. Maybe the biggest. Maybe the biggest.
Maybe the biggest. I mean,
Don't
which
tell
other
Donald Trump.
build a bigger dam?
He will dam up the Mississippi River right at the Delta.
Welcome back to Brothers Know Best. This is episode 9. It is colder than a polar bear's toenails here in Atlanta, but we're here. We're warm, staying nice and cozy, drinking our tea, our hot toddies. How are y'all doing?
Good. How cold are a polar bear's toenails?
They're
Pretty cold.
They're warmer. Yeah, they're warmer than where we are right now. So
I'll tell you this, I don't want to find out.
all right, how are y'all doing?
Doing good. I spent the weekend in Eugene, Oregon. My daughter made all-state choir, and so we went down and saw a great concert on Friday, and then Saturday we went and watched the number 13 Oregon Ducks somewhat embarrass themselves against the number 17 Purdue Boilermakers. There were some good moments in that game, but they could not hang at the end.
Well, I'm just glad that somebody in your family has some musical talent. We've been waiting on it for years.
We were due. This generation was due.
Yeah, so somebody has some musical gifts around there. Daniel, have you been okay since TikTok was banned for 15 hours or whatever it was?
Yeah, a whole 15 hours overnight where most Americans were probably sleeping, except for the ones that were just absolutely melting down on the internet, which I'm not necessarily making fun, but I'm like, come on, people. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just glad TikTok. I mean, I felt like some of those TikTok moms were going to make January 6th look like a kid's birthday party if TikTok didn't come back. So I'm glad.
The
I'm glad
firestorm.
it didn't last very long. Yeah, I think I've waited at a doctor's visit longer than TikTok was banned. So everybody freaking out. TikTok is back. What do you guys are you on TikTok? I don't even know. I sound like 75 years old talking about TikTok because I feel.
Are you on the TikTok, John? Are you on the TikTok?
The TikToks.
You ever watch them TikToks?
I've seen one of them TikToks.
I joke with the girls. I call them tiki takis, and they're like, "Oh, daddy, oh my gosh!" So, I have one shining moment on TikTok where I had a video that had like 85,000 views, 7,000 likes. Like it was insane. And it was Georgia football related when they beat Texas, and that thing took off. And that's like I think I've got 10 videos total. That was my shining moment. And,
all I heard is Daniel is an aspiring TikTok star. So now that TikTok is back, everyone go follow Daniel on TikTok.
I am not on TikTok. You know why it's called TikTok? Because you can just hear the time being wasted.
Wasted time.
So that's my 75-year-old man energy.
Exactly.
Like I just can't do it. Twitter or X, whatever it is now. That's enough for me, and I'll scroll that. Probably spend way too much time there. But man, anything that's video, I'm like, I can't even do YouTube. I'll go to YouTube for very specific things that I've subscribed to occasionally. But if you offer a YouTube feed and a podcast feed, I'm going podcast feed every time.
Go to YouTube for very specific middle-aged men geared how to fix a dishwasher, how to
hey,
why does my fridge door not close all the way properly? What
I know what a hot water circulator pump is. Thank you, YouTube.
Anyone listening to this show below the age of 45 has immediately tuned out already for these first 5 minutes. They're like, we're out. These old fogies. No, the only thing I ever like really watch on TikTok is Malcolm Reed. And I know you can watch him. It's How to Barbecue Right. I know you can watch him on Instagram and everywhere else, but that's the only dude that I've ever seen make macaroni and cheese and put pepper jelly in it. Just a wow. I mean, Malcolm Reed, look up Malcolm Reed, How to Barbecue Right. that's the kind of guy, if you're looking for tips on how to barbecue or how to cook in general, go find a guy that looks like Malcolm Reed. That sounds like Malcolm Reed. You'll know what I'm talking about when you go find him. So that's all I do on TikTok. I'm excited today. We're going to share some personal stories today. We're going to talk about the best time we got in trouble. So we've been wanting to talk about this for a while. This is most of our time spent together is talking about this kind of stuff anyway. Yeah. The best thing we know now that we wish we knew 20 years ago, and then we'll talk a little bit of a teaser for next week. So before we get into that, we never really got into trouble as kids. I mean, let's just put that out there. We were well behaved, mild mannered, always following rules. I mean, that was just Michael. That's just Michael.
That's Michael. That's Michael's childhood that I remember.
Oh, Michael's childhood, and boy,
that's funny because I was going to say it was mostly Daniel when we did get in trouble.
Please, only time Michael ever got punished was when one of us lied and said that Michael did something wrong.
Oh, that's a true story.
And Michael would threaten to sell you out if you didn't, depending on what it was. I very specifically remember saying, "Hey, if you don't do this, I'll tell mom and dad what you said at a band tournament."
Fake news. You're saying I did that to you?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You did that. Because I can tell you exactly what I said that I didn't want you to tell mom and dad that I said.
What else?
But I'm not going to say it here. I'm not going to say it here. I'm not going to say it here. I'm not proud of it. Man. I'm just saying. I will also say that thank you for all the youngest of the siblings out there. Thank your older siblings every single day, because by the time my parents had to go through John and Michael, by the time they got to me, they were like, pick which hill you want to die on. And I didn't really get in a lot of trouble.
There we go.
When I should have.
Clipping it.
I will say that.
We're clipping that. Right. Didn't really get in a lot of trouble. We're playing that for the rest of your life, Daniel.
Let's just say John got locked out of the house when he came home too late, and mom and dad, they just went to bed. When I came home late, they were like, we're just going to hope he's there in the morning, and that'll be it.
Boy.
That's when I came home late, mom was calling the hospitals and calling everybody we knew. Something bad must have happened to him.
I got locked out of the house when I came home late. I had to sleep in the car. Michael, they were calling all the local hospitals. Daniel, they didn't really know if Daniel was even still their child, like if he was still around. It's like, well, maybe he's around. I don't know. I don't know what he's up to. We'll see him one day. Again.
He'll come home when he's hungry. I'm sure.
He'll come home when he needs a change of clothes. That's right.
Oh my gosh. Well, this segment did not get off to the start that I thought it was going to get off to, but that's okay. That's what it is.
I feel like I need to defend my honor a little bit because I got in trouble sometimes. I'll tell you this probably actually is the exception that proves the rule, because when I was thinking about times that I got in trouble on my own, there were two times that I remembered. One was the story we've already told about the cherry picker, the construction equipment that me and Alex Rout tried to get into. And then the second time I got in trouble was also at school. We were in drama class and we were on the stage in the auditorium, and there was like a janitor's closet connected to the stage. And somebody went in there and saw a ladder going up to the roof, and the hatch to the roof was open. And so we're all like, we could go on the roof. So we start climbing up, and I wasn't the first person, but I was on the ladder. There were a couple of us climbing up the ladder, and somehow somebody poked their head out the top and was like, oh no, maybe we shouldn't do this or whatever. And so they're going to come down, and they closed the hatch to the roof. Well, it turns out Bobby, the janitor, was on the roof at the time. And so he gets stuck up there. I don't know if he had a radio. I just imagine Bobby walking to the edge of the building, just waiting on somebody to walk out the door. Hey, let me down. So anyway, somehow it got brought back that it was during our class, that, and then the teacher kind of interrogated us, and it came out that me and one other kid had climbed the ladder. And so we got 3 days of lockdown, 3 days of in-school suspension, where I had to do my classwork in an isolated desk in ISS.
Oh,
and
the horror.
I remember teachers bringing me work to ISS, making fun of me because I got in trouble for locking the janitor on the roof.
They're like, Michael, do you not realize that you're the one that has to uphold this family name? Your parents are counting on you. We've seen your other two brothers. We've seen your other two brothers.
They are sending it right down the drain, but you're the only one. But I mean, 3 days, that's honestly, it's not that bad when you locked a man on a freaking roof. Who knows what the elements were? Who knows? He could have fallen off. Michael,
I don't remember what time of year it was. Could have been 100 degrees.
Yeah, I think we need to revisit. I think you need more time.
Yeah, thank you, John. I just let the record show you understand the magnitude of that trouble that I caused.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got a bad streak in me. I just want
you need more time for sure. I got ISS one time when I was in middle school. There was a kid that will go unnamed, but he had been trying all morning to pick a fight with me for a couple days actually, and I was sitting at a desk in front of him. He kind of started poking me in the back of the head or something. I turned around, told him to stop. He got up, bowed up, swung, and hit me. Okay, so he hit me once, so I get up, and then he hits me again. So he hit me twice. And I'm like, put my hands just to try to keep him from hitting me. And then he hits me a third time. And I said, all right, well, we've had enough now. 3 times. I mean, so I, just cocked back, knocked him over a desk, got on top of him, punched him in the face. And then, of course, the teacher walks in at that moment and just sees us fighting, me punching this kid. Yeah. And so the teacher takes us to the principal's office. Back in the day, I think these days they just call it cops. I think you just go right to the penitentiary.
That's right. Yeah.
if you throw a fist now, I think you're just going straight to the pen. But back then they would take you to the principal's office. But I'm sitting there, and so we both get sent home. We both get 3 days of ISS, the same punishment. Well, our dad asked me what happened. John, why are you fighting at school? I said, well, kid was picking a fight. He hit me 3 times. Well, when I said that was it. He hit you 3 times and y'all got the same punishment. He hit you first, this whole thing.
Yep.
So dad goes up to the school to have a conversation, just to discuss this idea of getting the same punishment when you were just defending yourself at school. And dad and the principal, it got so loud that the school secretary had to stick her head in and say, can you two please go outside? Because it's so loud. And man, I wish y'all could have seen some of the kids come by. John, your dad was giving it to Mr. I mean, it was just like kids were cheering me on because dad was yelling at the principal. I will say this. Dad came up, yelled at the principal. I served my 3 days of ISS. And y'all, it was the best 3 days of ISS, I think, probably in the history of in-school suspension.
I think when you tell this story, I think I remember a lot of film study.
The football coach was the guy who ran in-school suspension. They would bring my work. I was in the honors program, humble brag. They would bring my work. I would get my work done in a couple hours. And then every other kid, right? So in school suspension, they get their work done, their heads down their desk, they're sleeping the rest of the day. Me, the coach would call me up. Hey, you want to watch some film? I would sit up there at the desk with the football coach in school suspension, and he's breaking down football film. He's telling me play. He's showing look at this. I mean, the whole 3 days basically of a football coaching clinic.
Little did he know you would take those skills that you learned in early film study to a rival school across town
and use them every year.
Never lost.
And little did he know, 30 years later, you'd still be talking about the glory days of football and everything that you learned.
And
core memory.
Still be trying to build a life around that film study.
And little did he know, it feels so good when your life is just, you're in that midlife crisis and everything just is going into the void. And you're like, yeah, but I sat there and learned football from this coach back in the day.
That's right. I meant to say, I forgot all those details about that story, John. I just remember Dad. that was not a story about you in my mind. That was a story about Dad.
No, my favorite part of that story, I actually left it out, was I was sitting on the bench outside the principal's office when they were arguing. The door opens, Dad steps out, the principal is standing right there. And Dad says, "Come on, son." And Dad stops intentionally with the principal standing right there and says, "Don't you ever let anybody hit you 3 times before you hit them back." Right in front of the principal.
Yes.
After they'd had that argument.
So that's it. I'm trying to figure out, either that kid should have talked to us first to know, hey, when you hit him the 3rd time, everything goes black and he's going to murder you. Or maybe that's why that became the rule, because that's a core memory for you. Dad said, don't ever let him hit you 3 times. So when I got to that 3rd time, it was
3 was kind of, especially, so I was the older brother. So with you two, I didn't, it's like
John was the guinea pig.
Well, when it came to fighting with y'all, I would instigate for sure. But if y'all ever started throwing blows, I tried, to Michael's point, but usually, around the 3rd punch, I just blacked out. And then it was just whatever happens, happens. If he dies, he dies. It was just,
literally, it was like, oh gosh, he's going to murder me now.
It either came from that fight at school, or it came from the time when I was laying on the couch, dead asleep. And I wake up to Daniel on top of me, punching me in the face, which I still to this day, I don't know how. I'm asleep on the couch. I wake up and Daniel, my younger brother, is just wailing on me.
Deny,
to this day,
deny,
I still don't even know what I did. I still don't know what I did to this day.
Your Honor, I deny all charges. I deny all accusations. I
still don't know what I did. To this day, I don't know what I did for Daniel to attack me in my sleep.
Well, one thing you got to know about being the youngest sibling is, we hang on to things probably a little bit longer. So it could have been.
You got to strike first.
That's it.
You can't wait.
Strike first, strike hard. That's it.
Dude,
strike hard, strike fast.
He struck first for sure, because I was dead asleep and I woke up to getting punched in the face. I was like, "What is happening?" All right, Daniel.
Let's hear something.
All right, so we, as we were involved in a lot of things in high school, as far as extracurricular, football, chorus, band, drama, whatever.
Here we go.
The
glory days. Here we go again.
That's it. The glory days, baby. The glory days. And so we had a little quartet with me and 3 of my buddies, and we were going to the local college over there for a little region competition thing. We had been practicing, but we get over there and 3 of us are like, it's just not going to work out. Don't want to sing today. Let's just hang out, call it a day. No big deal. I mean, if I'm being totally honest, if one person in that quartet hadn't had the guilt trip to go rat us out, and I don't,
and it wasn't you. That wasn't.
It wasn't. It was not. It was not me. It was not me. And no hard feelings toward this individual. But we did get in trouble for that. And we get ISS 3 days. I mean, 3 days just the going rate, I guess.
The standard, yeah.
This is standard.
3 days.
Yeah, that's it. And the ISS teacher was a football coach, and he just thought it was funny to dub us the chorus boys. He's like, "Okay, chorus boys, it's time for time for lunch, or time for do your work or whatever." And so it was like chorus boys, but it had that edgy kind of, like mafia tone to it. Like, yeah. Don't let the name fool you, kind of thing. And I remember one day after after serving one of my days of ISS, I go out to my vehicle and my 1994 Ford Probe. I can tell you how fast that car would go, but that'd be a different story. And there was a note on my windshield, and I was like, what in the world is this? It's like somebody trying to get my phone number, like, hey, I saw you in lockup, and whatever. And it was a note from my middle brother, and he made some references to the Chorus Boys. Obviously, I guess mom or somebody had filled him in on some of the details there. And I don't remember exactly how it went, but it started. He named me Lockdown Randy. He's like, hey, we're gonna bust you out of there. You and the Chorus Boys, we're gonna bust you out. I mean, like, it was. I wish I had saved that letter, because that was absolutely hilarious. So that was, yeah. So Lockdown Randy is still kind of a little known name that most people don't know about. I have quite a few nicknames, but Lockdown Randy being one, and that's where that story comes from. So that was good times.
Until literally just recently. I mean, within the last 4 or 5 years, you were in my cell phone as Lockdown Randy. That was a forever nickname.
Lockdown Randy. Well, there's only one story that really matters. The only reason we really want to do this segment. So
this is the story. This involves church. So if you're getting in trouble at church, I mean, not everybody who watches this grew up in the South, but if you're getting in trouble at church.
Yeah, if it involves church and your dad just happens to work and serve at that church.
Yes, correct. And at the time, our dad was doing stuff with like music and audio stuff at the church. And so he would go up, during the week and work on, audio stuff. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And so we would go while he's in the sound booth, which is like a separate room, working on all this. We would just run amok. He'd bring us up there and say, all right, don't get into trouble. Famous last words. But our one thing to know is our pastor at the church back then was famously from the state of Alabama. And there was a lot of fun, like, ribbing between Georgia and Alabama people. And so people in the church would make fun of him being from Alabama, that he was backwards, that, behind the times, whatever. And so they'd bring him these gifts. And one of them, either somebody gave it to him or he brought it in as a joke, but it was called an Alabama flashlight. And it was just a giant clothespin with a box of extra long matches. You light a match and you'd hold it in the clothespin, walk around. And so he had showed that in church one Sunday, as everybody got a good laugh out of it. And then he'd put it, kind of up there in a drawer. And so we knew it was there. So we come to church, and you can only play so much wall ball, for people who know what wall ball is, or wall to wall. You only do or hide and seek. You can only do so much of that. And so at some point we go into that room and we find the Alabama flashlight. Now this is like the main area of the church.
This is sanctuary, baby.
That's right. And it's wall to wall carpet. And it was pretty big, sat a few hundred people, if I recall. And so there's just it's just a massive ocean of carpet. And we get the Alabama flashlight with the extra long matches, and we light that puppy, and it's dark in there. So it's perfect. It's a perfect setting. And so we are like 3 blind mice walking around. Look how cool is this. We got a flashlight. We got a big match burning on the end of a clothespin. And at some point, somehow, that match falls and it hits that carpet.
Nope.
No, that's not what happened.
No, I know how. No, what ended up happening. Okay. We started with the Alabama flashlight.
Okay. Yeah. Fill in the details here.
Then somebody, I don't know who, and I claim no responsibility or culpability at this point.
Wasn't me.
Plausible deniability.
You weren't there. John wasn't there.
Go back and
he knows all the details, but he wasn't there.
Find the video. That's all I'm saying. Show me the video or drop all charges. So somebody
Your Honor.
Somebody decided that it might be good to do a little Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Indiana Jones.
And take a piece of paper and roll it up and light with the Alabama flashlight a torch, right? So Indiana Jones, you had the paper, and who knew that a rolled up piece of paper lit on fire would burn so fast,
so quickly
down to your hands that you couldn't actually walk around a place with the thing above your head burning like a torch because it burns so fast down to your hands that you end up dropping the piece of paper that is still on fire and aflame. Carpet in the 80s, I'll just say, like whatever
it's
material
industrial, it's commercial grade carpet. Like it is.
Yeah, whatever it was made
they
of.
hadn't perfected the fireproof coating.
No, it's pretty flammable. It's pretty flammable. So that torch burned down, burned the hand. The hand drops the piece of paper, catches the carpet on fire. So what do? Stomp it out.
What do you do?
I didn't remember. The torch. Listen, I didn't remember the torch, but I will never, till the day I die, forget us standing there stomping on that carpet.
The carpet caught on fire. So we caught the church carpet on fire. We're stomping the carpet out, the fire out. And then, like the good pastor's children that we were, we just turned around and walked out.
We got out of there.
We left the lights out. We turned around and
exited stage left, brother. That was it.
Walked out. Didn't even turn on a light to check to see what had happened. Nothing. Just walked right on out. Close the door. Pretended like nothing ever happened. Well, much to our dismay, the janitor showed up to clean the church right about the time that we were getting ready to leave. Yep. Goes into the auditorium, sees the burned carpet, and my favorite part of this entire story is the janitor goes to my dad and says, "Hey, carpet burned in here with paper and matches, stomped into the carpet. Not sure what happened." So Dad comes to us and says, "Were you boys in the auditorium playing with matches?" Nope.
What are you talking about? There's matches here, Pop. There's matches here. No,
y'all. There was literally no one else in the church besides Dad and us.
Yeah,
literally.
If my memory serves me correctly, Dad came to me. I think we had separated. You two had gone one direction. I went somewhere else. I don't know where I was, but my memory of this event was Dad asked me, and I very convincingly told him, "I don't know what happened. I don't know what you're talking about." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to go find your brothers." And he went and found you guys. Mm-hmm. And you said no at first, but then you came clean.
You know what he said? I can see Dad telling himself, looking for John and me. And he's like, well, at least Michael wasn't involved, because Michael wouldn't lie to me. Michael wouldn't tell me a story. Michael would tell me the truth. So it's gotta be those other two.
No, I mean, so we caught the church carpet on fire. We lied about it. Dad did not spank us at the church or in the church parking lot.
That was a lot of restraint.
Nope.
He drove maybe 100 yards. He may have made it 100 yards. Drove out of the church parking lot, right around the curve. Gets us out of the car, gets us spanking on the side of the road.
That's right.
Yep. I think that man was just like, these boys are getting a whooping when they get home. And then he 100 yards out of that parking lot, he couldn't make it. It's like, I'm getting a whooping now. So bad because we lied.
For what it's worth, I'll tell you this. He may have come to you two thinking, well, at least Michael wasn't involved because he wouldn't lie to me. But after that event, I would not lie to him because I paid dearly.
Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you what. if I ever catch church carpet on fire again, I'm gonna come clean real quick.
I'm sweating over here. Man, I forgot.
All right. Well, continuing on what we talked about last week. So last week we talked about New Year's mottos. We talked about changes we want to make. One of the things that we were talking about after that episode was just, some of the things that we wish that we knew 20 years ago that we know now. And so we thought it might be a good idea just to continue that conversation. It's some advice that I got a long time ago, and this is not the best thing that I know that I wish we knew then, but it's stuff like this. But somebody told me one time, you can be right or you can be happy, but you can't always be both. And to choose wisely. And I wish I knew what that meant 20 years ago, because I really know what it means now. After being married for almost 20 years, you can be right, you can be happy, you can't always be both. One thing that I learned from the CEO that a company I used to work for, there's this concept of like, do what you love, right? So people are like, oh, find something that you love and like go do that, follow your passion, like all these things. And the CEO that I used to work for, he said, no, I think that's crazy. He's like, you should try to find a way to love what you do. And for him, it was more around like, hey, if you're lucky to have a job, if you're lucky to be at some place in your life where you can learn, you can bring your skills, you can bring your values, to whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's some area of service, and you can just like find a way to fall in love with that thing. That will carry you a lot further than you continually chasing things that you love or your passion or those types of things. And I think for me, if I would have really known that like 20 years ago, if I would have just leaned in and said, you know what, like I'm on this trajectory right here. I enjoy, these things, and I'm just going to find a way to fall in love with where I am, with what I'm doing. I think that could serve me, really well. So love what you do, not necessarily do what you love, I think is one of the things I wish I knew 20 years ago.
That's good. Somebody told me one time they pay you for the stuff you don't love. So if your job was just a hobby that you love doing, they wouldn't need to pay you as much.
Exactly.
That was actually a really good perspective for me. Like, oh, they pay me for the crappy stuff. That's why they're buying my time.
Yeah.
So, but I love that. I'd say for me, the thing I wish I knew 20 years ago that I know now was I learned in my late 30s that I have ADHD. And that for me, y'all, like, so well established, well documented on this podcast that I was not a problem child in my school years. I was pretty well behaved, and we grew up in a time and place where really the only way you're going to get any kind of like extra attention and assessment about your mental acuity and mental health is if your behavior is problematic. But I had the fear of God in me. No, I was I was.
We survived on fear, brother. 100%.
That's right. But I was well behaved enough that I was never a problem in class, But I do remember always being that kid. And I could tell you points in my life in middle school, high school, college, where teachers or professors pulled me aside and said, you're so talented. I remember Miss Tumlin at our Merchant Middle School. I was the academic student of the year in my 8th grade year because I was pretty quick on academics. And I remember her pulling me aside one time and saying, Michael, you're not supposed to know this, but next week we're going to give you a school-wide award for the academic student of the year, but you're failing my class because you haven't turned in half of your assignments this semester. And I just, I'm deer in headlights like, oh, I didn't even realize I hadn't turned that stuff in. And I remember a professor in college pulling me aside and saying, hey, I've only told 2 students in my 25-year career this. You could take my job tomorrow. You're talented enough, but you have got to get it together. And I just felt like I spent much of my life feeling like the klutz, like I was just scatterbrained, and so then in my late 30s, I got a job where I'm meeting with like CFOs in Silicon Valley. Like the sharpest, least patient people that I've ever met. And they would literally cut you off mid-sentence if they felt like you're wasting their time, shut you down. And I started like breaking. My confidence was just shattered because I'm like, I can't keep the people's attention through the end of this sentence,
Mm-hmm.
And so I started seeing a counselor to talk through it. And a few sessions in, I mentioned something about maybe I'm ADD. I don't know. And the counselor says, well, let me just pause you there for a second, because I'll tell you, 15 minutes after you started talking, I knew there was a touch of ADHD, but I knew you needed to process. You needed to like get some of that out. And it was a really, really meaningful, like for us to work through that, and for me to realize like ADHD is not just, oh, these kids can't sit still in class. But to really, really learn like how my brain worked, that I digest and process information super fast and it comes out of my mouth really fast, but it's hard for me to pause and like really think slowly. There's a great book by Daniel Kahneman called Thinking Fast and Slow. And I'm really good at thinking fast, and I really have to work at thinking slow. And so just learning those concepts, I mean, really changed my life. It changed my marriage. It's probably why I'm still married and very happy right now, because my wife is the least ADHD person you've ever met in your life. And for her to tolerate me this long, it's been a real gift. But a lot of it was me learning that, a few years back. And so I wish I could go back 20 years and say, hey, younger Michael, go get this checked out. Like, go talk to somebody. Like, you're not just an idiot. you need to.
Well, I mean, you're kind of an idiot too,
okay,
but you can.
But you're our idiot.
You're our idiot. I'll punch somebody in the face after they hit me. After they hit me the third time, it's over.
I can talk about my brother.
After they call you an idiot the third time, Michael, I'm going after him. No,
if anybody's going to beat up on my brother, it's going to be me.
So many of like gifted honors kids from the late 80s and 90s are, functioning like ADHD adults. And you know what I attribute it to? The Oregon Trail. I attribute it to the Oregon Trail.
I thought you were going to say Red 40.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. There's probably a lot of food dyes as well. Yes, food dyes, microplastics, food dyes, Walmart, Dr. Thunder, tons of things that contributed to adult ADHD. But the Oregon Trail, because the opening, do you guys, you probably don't remember this, but the opening scene, the menu of the Oregon Trail, it had 4 options. Okay. You could travel the trail. You could learn about the trail. You could see the top 10, or you could turn the sound off, right? If you're playing Oregon Trail on your computer.
Yep.
Did anybody ever learn about the trail?
I'm here to play. I'm here to win.
Nobody. You hit 1, travel the trail. Next thing you know, you're dying of dysentery.
I'm here to survive.
Exactly. You're dying of dysentery and you're typing your epitaph or whatever of you and your family. But it was those situations around like, all right, well, okay, I died. Go back to the menu. 1, travel the trail. We're just starting out. We're just and this, and I think the Oregon Trail, if someone had said, hey, you might be a lot more successful if you hit number 2 and just learn about the trail a little bit, find your bearings, get your bearings instead of just diving head on, maybe there wouldn't be this epidemic of adult onset ADHD.
I am not here to learn about the trail. I'm here to go out and shoot 1,200 pounds of buffalo, even though I can only carry 150 pounds back to the wagon and carve my name in Independence Rock. I'll tell you that.
That's it.
I'm gonna figure out on my own how to feed these 8 kids with a fever, and they just lost their mother, and now I got 1,500 pounds of buffalo, and I mean, who? And we're still 300 miles from our destination.
Yeah, I mean, how do you focus in that situation? I mean, just how do you? Right. You just don't. And so but for us, the good news is you didn't have to. Good news is you didn't have to. You could just go back, hit 1, travel the trail.
Yeah, that's right. That's
right. Exactly. Because who here to this day does anybody still read the instructions until you hit a trouble spot?
Until when you're at the river's edge and you're wondering if I can float this wagon across the river without drowning my horse, like that's the situation. That's when you want to read the instructions. But by then,
But to be fair, I know what caulking is because you had to caulk that wagon if you were going to float the river. You know what I'm saying? You got to caulk the wagon.
That was my favorite part about Oregon Trail. You were like caulking wagons. You were doing stuff that's like they were not doing those things on the Oregon Trail.
Okay, so great sidebar, great Oregon Trail story. I'm an adult man working a job in corporate America, and when we were about to move to Oregon, I told a friend of mine, Marie, at work that I was moving to Oregon. Hey, a couple of months, we're moving, whatever. And Marie says, "Oh, I've never been to Oregon, but I used to play the Oregon Trail," and we laughed about the Oregon Trail. And I was like, "What a great game!" And she's like, "I know," and like, I could play that for hours, and you got to go and shoot meat to feed the wagon train or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and by the time you get there, half your party died of chlamydia. And
No.
And I said, "Do you mean cholera?" I said, "I don't know what Oregon Trail you were on. It's a very different experience."
People out here dying of chlamydia. Oh my Lord. Well, there you go. I love it. Well, adult ADHD can all be traced back to the Oregon Trail generation and that singing menu. Not only, and it wasn't just the first menu, by the way. It was also every time like you would get to a place and it would give you like the weather conditions and it would give you like your health, if it was fair or good or whatever. And then it had the whole menu. You may continue on the trail, check your supplies, look at the map, like at all the stuff. Number one was always continue on the trail.
Continue.
Right, hit number one.
Yeah. I don't have time to take a break.
That's right.
I don't have time to take a break.
We keep it on going until we die and then starting over. All right, Dana, what do you know now that you wish you knew 20 years ago?
Oh, I got two quick things here. I'll make them pretty quick. But there's a little meme or a little something going around on this socials. But it really is true.
Is it on TikTok? Because I haven't been able to be on
there. No, it's not on. Well, I haven't seen it on TikTok, but I'm not that much on
Okay, so other socials. All right.
Yeah. But the future cost of current decisions, because every decision you make in your teens, and people say, "Oh, well, they're just young or whatever." No, that affects you into your 20s and into your 30s. And if you're not careful, by the time you're coming up on 40, like I am next month, you're looking back and you're going, man. And I'm not just talking about like saving money or putting money in the bank or this or that. I'm talking about how you wake up and approach your day every day. And I know that's like maybe a little too deep for some people watching, but I guess the 1A or the 1B to what I just said was the beast you feed is the beast you become. And people may not like the term beast, but who you wake up and feed every day, that's who you're going to become. Just physically and mentally. If you stay in, I know circumstances happen or whatever, things happen in life and get you down or just things happen. No, we'll just say it that way. But but the quicker you can adjust and try to move past that mentally, the quicker you are to getting out. I'm not saying you can just wake up and go, oh, everything's always, rainbows and sunshine, but the quicker you can move on from that, the quicker you can get past it. And physically too. If you feed your body, junk every day, that's what your body's going to crave. Shout out to my daughters who have sworn off sweet tea here in the South. Whoa, holy cow. And just daughters? For the record, yes, my daughters. Yes.
This is a man who had sweet tea in the sippy cups. So
that's right. And I don't drink sweet tea anymore. If you know me, I do half and half if I do tea at all. But that's another discussion. But shout out to them because they just after a week of just one little change, just one little, they're not eating anything different. We're not on some kind of health initiative where we're, fresh veggies and all that, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, you don't have to make these huge changes right out of the gate, because that's where, going back to New Year's resolutions, that's where people fail, because they try to make such a huge change on day one and their body can't adjust. But they went into this year and they said, hey, we're going to give up sweet tea, at least for the foreseeable future. And after a week, just after 1 week, they're like, Daddy, we feel better. Like we can actually maybe eat more food because we're not so full on the caffeine and sugar that we're getting from the sweet tea. And they're starting to connect the dots just at an early age. So physically and mentally and spiritually, the beast you feed, that's the beast you're going to become. So if you wake up one day and you're not happy with where you are, or just whatever the decisions you made in your life have a huge play in where you are. Circumstances happen, things happen out of your control. Totally understand that. But a lot of people are in the situation they're in because of decisions they've made. And
so Daniel,
and I'm preaching to the choir. I'm preaching to myself right there.
Yeah, no, we get that. So when you and the chorus boys made that decision to skip and ended up in lockdown, what has that cost you over the years? Because that just seems like a good lesson for your kids right now who are listening to this.
You know what that cost me? That cost me a primetime spot at the graduation ceremony for the Armritchie High School class of 2003. That cost me that.
Wow.
See, and it took me that.
You hear that? That's trauma coming out, folks.
You're listening. You want the primetime spot at graduation.
That's right.
Don't be like your dad and skipping out on stuff. And being with it. And honestly, the truth is, the lesson is just stay away from the chorus boys in general.
I mean, true that.
That's right. I was going to say we might be inaugurating a new segment here, Deep Thoughts with, I was going to say Dan, Deep Thoughts with Dan, but clearly it's Deep Thoughts with Lockdown Randy.
Things I learned in the institution.
In the institution. He's been institutionalized. He can't function on the outside anymore.
That was good.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
Future costs of current decisions. Man, that was really good, Daniel.
Yeah, hey, I will say we've been talking a lot in my house for a while. We talk a lot about formation. You're being formed by whatever, what you're eating, what you're listening to, what you're watching, how you're spending your time. It's a similar concept. But I love that the beast you feed is the beast you become.
We've been talking a lot in our house about just how to get better at Mario Kart. And so I think we'll flip it maybe and talk a little bit about formation going forward. Y'all have inspired me.
Well, I'm glad me letting your kids beat me in Mario Kart has given them some confidence and like something, they feel like, I could really be good at this.
I love how you framed that.
No, it's called reframing, Daniel. It's a technique for taking something bad that happened to you and trying to make it.
You said you let them beat you? Yes. That's not true. That's not
true. Oh my gosh.
It's called reframing.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to be back next week, and I'm so excited for next week. We're going to talk about best TV characters of all time. Now, that's a huge topic. When we started talking about best TV characters, Michael started making categories immediately. Yeah. Funny,
I'm looking at the categories right now.
Serial killers. I mean, Michael was making like all the lists. And I'm like, dude, we're not listening. Best serial killer. That's like documentary. It's not a TV show. He was real. So don't. But we're gonna talk about best TV characters. And I mean, I can't wait for this conversation next week because I think there's going to be some vigorous debate.
Best serial killer. Are you a Ted Bundy guy?
Best serial killer. That's for we'll save that. That'll
Are
be
you more of a Jeffrey Dahmer or a Ted Bundy?
that'll be best serial killer. We'll save that segment for maybe a little bit closer to Halloween.
Yep.
But best TV character I'm very excited about. I think this is a highly controversial topic.
Well, that's a heck of a tease. What's your short list? Should we do that or just save it for next week?
Yeah, well, we can do a short list. I mean, gotta have. I mean, Ron Swanson's on the short list.
Absolutely,
of course.
Especially
which Seinfeld characters are on the short list? I mean, Kramer,
George,
Mr.
Elaine.
Mandelbaum.
That's right.
Izzy Mandelbaum, you a tough guy.
The suit Nazi.
Yes.
Don't for you.
It's go time.
You come back 1 year.
So many on the short list. But yeah, that's just. I mean, you start talking about sitcoms, you start talking about drama, you start talking about guys like Walter White, and
Did I hear Jackie Child?
Jackie Childs, baby.
Lord have mercy.
Seinfeld could have survived without Jackie Childs, but man, he brought so much flavor.
I might listen. We might have to take Seinfeld off the table and do a separate best character from Seinfeld. That could be a whole episode in itself.
I think we might have to do just a Seinfeld episode at some point. We'll find a reason to do that. But we'll be back next week talking about best TV characters. Let us know who some of your best TV characters of all time are in the comments, and we'll see you next time.